This tutorial provides step-by-step instructions to help teachers prepare their students for their McAuliffe Center Virtual Mission. By following these steps, teachers will optimize student engagement in the mission by ensuring that they are able to focus on mission-specific tasks and not technical or operational matters. Today, we'll be looking at some important steps in the weeks and days prior to your mission. We'll begin with at time of booking and then move on to 1 week prior to your mission, and then 3 days prior to your mission, and finally the day of your mission. At time of booking. Now is the time at this early planning stage of your mission to verify that you and your students are going to have access to the web-based resources that will be necessary in order to fly the mission. Some schools limit internet access to a subset of approved websites only, and so you will need to verify that you're going to be able to access the task cards that the students will use during their virtual mission. You will have received by now an email that contains a URL that ends in Europa Encounter start page, and you'll want to enter that into your browser and make sure that you can connect to it. All of the task cards are located on this same server. If you have any difficulty accessing that, now is the time to check in with your IT manager and sort that out. And this is the URL that was provided in that prior email, just here as a reference, should you need it. 1 week prior to your mission. So this is the time when you will address the crew manifest. The second page of the crew manifest document that you were provided with provides you with a detailed description of each of the mission roles available to students. Teachers can ask the students to apply for their favorite role assignment or assign the roles based on your own assessment criteria. You'll need to complete a manifest for each of the missions that you have scheduled. So 1 manifest per mission. Make sure that you include the primary teacher's name as well as the time and date for each specific mission there at the top of the manifest. The roles are listed on the manifest in the order of their importance to the flow of the mission. So we advise that you work from the top of the manifest downward to ensure that these critical roles are assigned in the event that there are not enough participants to fill all available roles. And finally, submit your completed crew manifest at least a week prior to the date of your mission so that our staff can get back to you if we have any concerns about your manifest. 3 days prior to your mission. This is the time to prepare your students for the technical aspects of the mission operations we call it. And we do this now in advance so that when the mission begins, students can focus on the goals of the mission and not get hung up on technical issues. The mission prep exercise that follows gives your students an opportunity to practice some of the technical skills that they will need to apply once the mission gets underway. The first that we're going to discuss is joining the Zoom meeting. The second is creating a split screen on their computer. The third is changing their screen names so others in the mission can identify the role that they are playing. And finally, sending messages through the comm officer. So let's start with joining the Zoom meeting. In advance, you would have received a Zoom meeting invitation via email that will look something like this one. And you will distribute that invitation to all of the mission participants, and they'll simply click on the Join Zoom Meeting link here highlighted by a giant red arrow. And depending on the computer that the student's using, uh, some may get prompted with questions about computer audio or the computer's camera, and most of the time simply following the prompts will guide them to where they need to be, but you may want to be prepared to assist with that. Once the students have the Zoom window open, they'll want to open the chat window. And the chat window is going to be their primary mode of communication throughout the mission, so this has to remain open within the Zoom window at all times. To open this, simply click on the chat button at the bottom of the Zoom screen to open this chat window, and it will appear on the right-hand side of the screen. And it'll look something like this. So highlighted by the giant red arrow, that's the space where they will insert their cursor and type their messages. In some cases, they'll be copying and pasting messages from their task cards that will all be explained in the task cards. And most of the messages they will send will be addressed to the comm officer, so that window just above type message here, that's a drop-down menu that contains all of the addressees that are available. Most of the time, they will be selecting comm from that drop-down menu and sending messages this way. It's a good idea to have the students practice muting and unmuting their microphones in advance as well. They will remain muted for the most part during the mission, but there are a couple of occasions the mission commander will ask for a go or no-go verification from all teams at the beginning of the mission. They will want to unmute and then remute their microphones in order to respond to that. And they can also unmute their microphones if they get stuck, if they really feel they need assistance from one of our staff. They're welcome to unmute their microphone in order to ask for that support. Creating a split screen. So all participants will create a split screen arrangement with the Zoom meeting window on the left-hand half of the screen and the internet browser that will contain the task cards on the right-hand half of the screen. To get started on this, simply click the Maximize box in the upper right-hand corner of the Zoom window, and that will allow you to grab the right-hand edge of the window and just drag it into the center of the screen, and that will give you your Zoom window on the left-hand side of the screen. Then you can do the same, but in reverse, with your internet browser for the task cards, and that will get you set up just as we described. And this is what the screen, of course, looks like when it has been successfully split. At this point, we recommend that you have the students load in that URL from earlier, the URL to the server that you used earlier for a test, and have them load that in as well to make sure that their computers are going to be able to access that as well. Changing screen names. The name that appears in each participant's camera view window should consist of their first name followed by their assigned team name. In this example, Jason Has, which is short for Hazard Team, or Rebecca Nav, which is navigation, etc. To do this, click on the three-dot icon in the upper right-hand corner of the camera view window, and from that drop-down menu, select Rename. Once you have selected Rename, you'll see this interface, and that's where the students will type in their name followed by their assigned team. And that's how it should look, and then they just simply hit OK, and we're good to go. Sending messages through comm. Sending a message or two through the comm officer during this exercise will give students some confidence in the communication system so that once their mission begins and things get busy, they'll be comfortable. So we recommend that the teacher change their name to comm in order to practice this a couple of times. So have the students select comm from the drop-down menu here circled in red, and then the students can type in a message below that says, comm officer, this is Bruce, or insert student name here. Do you read me? Over. And then you, as the comm officer, can reply to that with something to the effect, Bruce, this is the comm officer. We read you. Over. You might also want to let them know that they'll be, in some cases, copying some content from their task cards and pasting it into this window here, this message window here. And those messages will often have a blank space into which they will insert some relevant data that they have researched. And this is an important part of the role that they play in the mission. This mission prep exercise is an important part of the mission because by ensuring that teachers and their students are familiar with the online meeting tools and browser-based mission task cards prior to the start of their mission, students will be ready to begin on time and receive the fullest benefit from their online STEM learning experience. On the day of your mission, having had a little bit of practice, the day of the mission should go pretty smoothly. The first thing that students will need to do is set up their devices. The teacher will want to check in about 5 minutes prior to the mission, and we'll explain why we do that. Students should be aware that they're going to be asked to provide a go for mission verification and explain how that works. And also that the students should be aware that they are welcome to ask for assistance if they feel they need to, and here's how they'll do that. At this point, device setup is just a review of what you did during the mission prep exercise. So obviously you'll join the Zoom meeting. The students will set up their split screen arrangements. And they will go ahead and change their screen names using those steps described earlier. So the teacher should log in 5 minutes prior to the start of the mission so that you have an opportunity to discuss with our staff absentees or any other adjustments to the manifest changes to the flow of the mission that might be required because of that particular day's circumstances. The students are also welcome to log in at this time, and they will wait in a waiting room until all of that formality is taken care of and the mission commander is ready to begin the mission officially. The go for mission requirements. So shortly after your mission begins, the mission commander will ask each participant to provide a go or no-go for mission response. The mission prep exercise that you went through is the key to ensuring a confident go for mission from all participants. Let them know that they should be ready to unmute their mic momentarily in order to respond and then mute again immediately afterwards. So a confident go for mission means that participants are connected and are prepared to remain connected to the Zoom meeting at all times and must be able to listen to the mission commander and their teammates at all times. And participants have changed their screen names as required. Participants are prepared to send messages through the comm officer, who is the only crew member who will speak directly to the mission commander. Microphones must be muted at all times otherwise, unless directed to unmute them by the mission commander, or if the students are seeking assistance from the McAuliffe Center staff, they're welcome to unmute and do that as well. Finally, participants must have their task cards for their assigned team open and should be ready to dive in and get started. Seeking assistance. Most of the questions that students typically ask during the course of a mission can be answered by rereading the task cards. Nonetheless, participants may seek assistance from the McAuliffe Center mission team during the mission, either through the chat window or by unmuting their microphone and speaking directly to our staff if they're uncertain about what their next step might be. In most cases, they'll be directed back to an overlooked step in their task cards, but that's fine. They're invited and welcome to seek assistance if they feel the need to do so. The importance of preparation. Missions are fast-paced and can go by quickly. By preparing your students in advance, you ensure that they will be able to engage early, immerse themselves in the goals of the mission, and derive the most learning benefit from their experience. If you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out via email. We can't wait to explore the solar system with your students. Your mission countdown begins now.